Congressman Adriano Espaillat, who represents Washington Heights and the Bronx, also inside the Capitol. Now he's among the first to call out the disparities between how white, black, and brown protesters were treated. It's something we've been talking about this morning.
Yes, Congressman Espaillat joins us this morning. And Congressman, before we talk about the outrage over the way protesters were treated and handled yesterday, I want to get your feelings and your insights as to what occurred where you were. What did you experience as some called an insurrection or a coup occurred there at the Capitol?
Yeah, I call it a failed coup by a mob, an extremist, racist mob that try to assault democracy and put away your ability to vote and elect your own government. But I was in my office on my way to work early in the morning. I saw many of them, and I felt as I walked into the complex in the Capitol that there was very lax security. I didn't think that for the number of people that were there, that we had the kind of security that we needed to have for everybody, including the folks that work for us right there, our staffers that were there as well, open to anything that could have happened to them. So I went to my office. The police went to my office and tried to move me out of my office to another location. I decided I wanted to stay in my office. That's what I got elected to do, to be there and represent the district that I represent, the 13th district. And I stood there with my staff until we were summoned to go back on the floor at about 8 p.m. and begin to do our work and to cast the votes that we needed to cast to ensure that the elections back in November are finally ready to move forward and that we get away from this madness. So, a horrible experience. It was all over, not just in the Capitol. You got to know that this wasn't just right around the Capitol.
No, yeah.
It was in the entire complex, including the legislative buildings in other areas.
So did you see rioters near your office? Did you come in contact or at least hear their footsteps outside your doors?
No, I could see them right outside.
Yeah.
They weren't able to penetrate that building, as they were not able to penetrate the House of Representatives, the floor. They did penetrate the Senate and several of the offices in the Capitol itself.
So I want to talk to you about...
They were not able to penetrate my office building, which is the Capitol complex.
Right. And I want to talk to you about the disparities.
Or other buildings.
Because you just mentioned that you, heading into your office, saw that security may have been a little lax, right? Even though we knew that this was going to be happening in D.C. And I want to throw up one of your tweets that you sent out yesterday, and I thought it was pretty powerful because you said, if this was a peaceful Black Lives Matter demonstration, they would have been met with rubber bullets, beanbags, and handcuffs. Someone will answer for this. There's your tweet right there on the screen. How can we change that?
Well, certainly, I feel very strongly about that. I think that the measures could have been stronger. Now, I recognize that there were many of them, and for the number of Capitol Police that we have, perhaps there were not enough. And I commend the ones inside the House floor, including several that I know personally, that held their ground and protected the members and the staff's members in the House floor itself. But I think we could do it better. There's clearly a disparity across the country on how people of color are being treated by law enforcement in general. And under these very tense situations, that kind of disparity manifests itself very often and unfortunately in a deadly way. So yes, had it been a protest led by Black and brown people, I think that the results would have been horrific. These results were horrific because people died, but unfortunately, I think had it been other folks, they would have handled it with a tough risk, a tough attitude that very often we see in the neighborhoods that I represent.
And I don't think that's an assumption. I think that's a reality because we did see it. We did see how it played out back in June 2nd on the streets of D.C. and with the tear gas and the rubber bullets that were all used.
And that's at the heart of the really hard questions that you and others are going to be asking to find some answers as to why this happened yesterday the way it did. Congressman, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Always.